So today we'll discuss about data validation, right? So
नमस्ते सदा वत्सले मातृभूमे नमस्ते सदा वत्सले मातृभूमे त्वया हिन्दुभूमे सुखं वर्धितोऽहम् त्वया हिन्दुभूमे सुखं वर्धितोऽहम् महामङ्गले पुण्यभूमे त्वदर्थे महामङ्गले पुण्यभूमे त्वदर्थे पतत्वेशकायो नमस्ते नमस्ते
for today we'll discuss about data validation in EIA studies, and also we'll learn about how to make interpretations, especially in chapter 3 of EIA report. So the content for today is already advertised in browser. Here you can see again, apart from this listed content, will show some case studies from EIA, that how data validation has been done for physical environment, for social environment, for biological environment. And also PCX means will show the PCX software, how you can check the plagiarism using this PCX software, and number of softwares are there like Turnitin and Grammarly. Many softwares are there. You can see on this right hand side one page from the EIA, that is cover page, who are already joined some sessions about EIA, that they know about the content of the cover page. You can refer this content, like what type of content should be covered on cover page or front page of the EIA. We are not going to discuss much deep into the process, how why EIA is required and why everything is required, but surfacely we'll cover, because before going to discuss about the data validation, we need to know how the data has been generated and why this data generation and everything is required. So here you can see in this slide, this is process flow diagram of one manufacturing activity or industrial activity. Means for making product, we need some type of raw material in term of solid, liquid or gaseous, and some emissions are there in term of solid, liquid, gas. How this can be: gaseous emission like air emission, air pollution; liquid like wastewater; and solid like a solid hazardous waste. So we need some type of fuel in term of means to requires to convert raw material into product, that is energy. And whatever the product are sellable, whatever is sellable, other than that sellable, which is not sellable, is the waste. So to control all these processes, to control the air emission, to control the water emission or wastewater, to control the solid waste management, we need to generate data. And on the legible data, on the means valid data, we have to make some interpretation. So here you can see this is the one flow diagram for environmental clearance, like starts from screening, scoping, regulatory reviews. Then we have to collect the baseline data. After collecting the baseline data of current scenario of that site, we have to go for preparation of report. Then this goes to the final report preparation if public consultation is applicable to that project. And finally, EIA EMP we have to submit to the regulatory authority, and approvals will be there from regulatory authority only, a concerned agency like CEAC or EAC. So EIA, as we know, EIA is key to the robust environmental management. Also, this is known as decision making tool. Now in India, EIA reports are being prepared by the consultant, or we can say the NABIT approved consultant, ACOs. ACO means Accredited Consultant Organizations. So the word meaning of validation on Hindi, you can see here, Vidhi Manya Karan. That means an activity aimed at verifying whether the value of a data item come from a given set of acceptable value, or we can say in other word, the validation is the action of checking or providing the accuracy of something. If we are talking about validation of data, then this means the action of checking the accuracy of that particular data. So there are number of techniques required to control the data, to make, to verify, to check the accuracy of that data. This is means data validation cannot be done by one type of method, because different type of data requires different type of activity, different type of techniques. So the action of making or declaring something legal, or we can say officially acceptable, is known as validation. In some time, you may know about EIA validation. It is the term which is accepted by NABID. So again, this is action of something or making something that it should be legally acceptable, right? I think you get my point. So the recognition of a person or feeling or data or anything related to the validation. And in terms of data validation, so data validation ensure data first, this ensure data should be complete. There is no blank value, no null values, or it should be unique. It should be having the range of consistency, and that should be uh, acceptable value, acceptable range, and whatever we have expected, we are expecting. Like suppose we are doing water analysis from one sample which taken from the river, and we are expecting the TDS of range about 250 to 300, right? And if you are means after result coming from the laboratory, and it shows the TDS value is 5000, wherever you are expecting 200, 300 to 500, but value is 5000, and what will happen? That this is the alarming situation. How the TDS value is reaches to 5000? What are the factor? If it is correct, then what are the factor? First, it should not be correct. Then you have to check again what type of accuracy they have taken, how they have calculated, how they have analyzed, what type of chemical they have used, and what is the raw data they have computed. We have to check all those things, and then if it is correct, then we have to go to the site, we have to observe the condition. Is there ingression of saline water? If yes, then your result is very accurate. So the data validation having three things. One is the extract, transform, and load. Why? Extract means you have to extract some relevant data, you have to transform into the acceptable range, and you have to then display or insert into your report. So this data validation help to ensure that to perform analysis by the accuracy. Here you can see on this screen major objectives of data validation. First objective is accuracy, second is coherence, third is comparability, four is clarity, five is accessibility, and sixth one is timeliness. So these are the major objective of data validation in any report, either your thesis, either your EI report, either your any type of report, research report, any research paper, etc. So every time in even writing the thesis, even writing in the papers, as review paper, technical paper, research paper, etc., you have to have means your check your data, that is it is valid or not. So what is the purpose of this data validation? It is done by comparing result from many approaches, many techniques to determine the level of agreement. Of course, the validation is set of processes and in activity intended to verify that methods are performing whatever we have expected in line with their design objective. Design objective, why? Because design objective, whatever we have designed parameters, whatever design activities we are going for, Suppose we are going for a water treatment. The water from the river we are treating and we are supplying into the municipality area to the residents, right? So why we are checking this TDS, pH, alkalinity, etc. These parameters, because we need to treat them to acceptable limit. So how much amount is currently they have, this water have, and what type of requirement we have. So how much amount of TDS, how much amount of chloride, how much amount of other parameter we need to remove. So this type of means then we have to do some activity. So in this data validation, we also need to reduce the biasness, to increase the credibility, increase the validity of findings, to increase the acceptability range. So there are five levels, a major two category: technical integrity of data and logical and statistical constancy of data. These two category of validation, but levels, five levels are there. First is the zero level. Second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First means zero level means consistency with expected expert. Like you are a researcher, you are a person who doing are collecting the data. So first you have to take care of your data collection, and you should be consistent with your sampling and whatever activity has been designed. Level second, that is known as level 2 actually, level 1 sorry, that is consistency with the data set or data expert when you are going to insert in the draft report. And level 2 is the consistency with other data set within the same domain and within the same data source. For example, you can take example of EIA. If you are preparing EIA, then you can check the cross check with the functional areas. Functional areas like cross checking of AP with AQ, WP with HG, LU with EB. Why EB, LU are correlated? Of course, they are correlated. Ecological change detection can be done by the land use mapping using satellite imagery. Water, groundwater potential can be done by the hydrological studies, and air pollution, GLC, etc. can be done by the some modeling, air quality modeling. Level 3, consistency with the same domain with different data source. How? You can take example of like cross EB, cross expert FAs. Like ecology biodiversity can be checked with socioeconomic. Air pollution can be checked by socio-economic or ecology biodiversity expert. Why? Because ecology biodiversity and air pollution, of course, they have a relation. Means any type of air emission can be reduce or increase the population, or we can say reduce the crop productivity, reduce the stomatal index, etc. So this is not directly related, this is indirectly related. So we can change, we can check consistency with the same domain with different data source. Domain is same, environment, EV is related to environment, socio is related to environment, AP is related to environment, but data source are very different. Because AP having air pollution only, AP means PM SOx NOx, PM 10 2.5, but socioeconomic has data of demography. Level 4, consistency with separate domain in the same data provider are some sources that are known as secondary sources, or we can say secondary data. So you have already generated your data. Now you have to check with secondary. You have to validate your second data also. Consistency, level 5 is consistency with data of other agency. Other agency means by the third party. Of course, this is also a secondary source, secondary data, because secondary data can be provided by any agency. But level 4 and 5, what is the major difference with the 4 and 5? 4 is the separate domain in the same data provider, but 5 is not similar domain, not a similar type of data provider. They have means level 5 is rarely achieved by the agencies, mostly covering up to level 4, because level 4 having acceptability limit is 95%. If you are going to acceptability limit of 100%, then you have to check with cross check with the another agency, 2 3 agencies should be there for secondary data. If they are saying the same thing, that means your data is very accurate. So what are the steps in data validation? First, you can see three steps are there. First, determine the data sample, because in case of here you can say level 0. This is consistency with expected expert or who are researcher doing the experiments. So we have to check how much data is there, how much data sample is there. Second is validate the database. Whatever database has been generated, we have to check the consistency of at each level. Then we have to validate the data formats also, because data formats playing a very significant role to generate the data. Either doing research, either doing observation, means recording observation from the site survey, right? So here are some methods, like one is a reviewing method, means one can easily, this method is very acceptable, very widely used in research papers, etc. Peer reviews, something means blind review, double review, third review, something like that. So these are the some methods. Scripting. And second one is enterprise tools. There are some tools are there, like for plagiarism is like Tantin, Urukun, many softwares are there, PCX. So these are some programs, some application software where we can check, we can validate the data, that is it has been not copied from any other available sources. And third one is open source tool, like some cloud based softwares are also there. These are free of cost. One can utilize, you can use this software where you are going to submit your research paper or this is something. So that is also a type of method. So validation area, what type of area where we can check, we have to check, like first one is the fraud. Means sometimes data is only fake data, fake news are there. In the current scenario, you can feel, you can see every time, every day many people are messaging, texting, are forwarding many different type of messages, videos, audios, etc. So it is not correct that every message, audio or video is coming from the source is correct. It can be fake, it can be correct, but it should be validated. Screening, and we need to check at the time of screening, we need to check at the time of procedure, competency, courtesy, means many, these are the area where to be corrected if it is not corrected. So here you can check take example of validity and reliability, means the difference between the validity and reliability. Validity means, in the case of validity, so what we can do, first data set are something we have to check, like employing a moderator who can check the validity of data or data set or data sample. Then some respondent validation can be checked from the formats the data has been generated. And we can use triangulation method. In case of triangulation method, this can be generally applicable to all the method, all the area. Triangulation method will explain how triangulation method can be utilized. In case of reliability, was first analysis to be done. That means in the reliability, we have to not check the format, we have to maintain the data. We are maintaining the data in the correct format is the reliability, but we are checking the data formats from where we are the data has been generated, that is the validity. So in case of validation process, as we already seen, three methods are there. But how we can do analysis of any data? So we have to check, means we have to do some quantitative process. We have to follow qualitative procedure. Sometimes we can mix, we can use mixed model. So in case of an analysis of data, so data transformation is required. We need to check the outliers. We need to explore the outliers. Outliers means the unexpected value. Instrument development, we have to check validity or calibration of that instrument which is to be utilized for analysis or has been utilized for analysis of results, right, or your samples. Then we have to check the multiple at multiple level, means start from your level 1 2 3 4 5. And then we have to make a matrix. After making matrix, we can ensure that data, whatever the generation from the functional area, of a researcher, from the laboratory, is accurate as per the acceptable criteria. So for qualitative method, many qualitative methods are there. Like you can generate data from some group, focus group, or creative groups, or you can go for the conflict group. Take we can say take opinion from the creative group and as well as conflict group. And sometime we can check with the peer groups, in depth interview we can take. Focus groups are also there. Diary analysis means sometime we can, like in case of you can take example of some series, web series, etc., where crime scene has been done, means investigated by CBI officer. They are checking diaries, many things are there. So that is qualitative method. Then ethnographic research, we can also do some ethnographic research in case of research only. And some stages are there for quantitative. For quantitative, we need to check data sample, data size, organizing the data, then presenting data in some graphical representation. And also we have to check with the central tendencies. The central tendency like mean, median, mode, average, whatever, regression, correlation, etc. That is variability. And then we have to go for data analysis. On the data analysis, inferences are there, and interpretations are there. So quantitative data can be means we have to check the type of data, data collection, data analysis. We have to check with some other examples, case studies, and what are the data quantitative, because quantitative data or quantitative data analysis validation is more acceptable than qualitative. So here you can take example of level, whatever we have discussed in the previous slide. That level one, we have to check with the consistency with the researcher who is generating. Level two, we can check the records, files, etc. Then we can this is an example from your research, or you can take example from data of IT, or data of COVID-19 patients. So in that way you can pass to the levels 1 2 3 4 5. And second, data is also required because between the domains and between different providers. Different provider means state government, central government, and municipality. Three different providers are there. We have to check the same data. If same data is there, that means your data is acceptable. If there is any discrepancy between the different provider in the same data, that means your data is not correct. So some rules are there to ensure technical integrity of data. First, we have to mention the time and date of data collected on the formats. We have to provide some evidences, photographic evidences with the date, GPS coordinates, etc. And sampling site description should be there in the format with GPS coordinates and valid address, like road, main road or something. Presence of an entry, if you are going to any type of premises, then you have to take a photograph of that entry gate. No duplicate units should be mentioned in the format. All the value in the field of one dataset to be provided on the records are the formats. Each record has a valid number of related record, means unique number of your record. And all observation has been should be formulated and interpreted at the time of observation only, because when you are writing some observations from the site visit, then one can easily understand what type of inferences to be done after the analysis. Name and signature with the date of the expert visited the site, and also expert prepared the report should be there. And cross reviewed by like concerned EIA coordinator, other EIA coordinator, a third party like NGO. In case of research, like you are the researcher, you have prepared your paper, you have to check with your mentor, you have to check with the supervisor, then you can go with some colleague. So here you can see as per example of your EIA report. So for reviewing, like you can check here, it is also data validation. ACO means the consultant. Sometimes political level is also involved. Sometimes media is also involved. Only client who recruit the ACO to prepare the report, EIA report. But there are some people, like one is SESE, EAC, authorities are there. They are also playing a significant role for data validation. So here you can see one example that in two pictures that has been taken by NASA in 2010 only, in some months of July and August. So in this case, wildfire in Brazil and wildfire in Amazon forest, it has been recorded on the globe by the NASA. So these are the changes. But this data, how we can rely on this data, is it correct or not? So again, we have to go to this type of slide, this type of series. We have to check that consistency with the format, with the record, with the file, with the revision time series, with the correlated data set. If mirror checks are there, then consistency with the domain and different sources, then data consistency data with the different providers. If it is same, then this data will be correct. Otherwise, we cannot rely on this data. If only one person is there in the world who is generating this type of data, then we can say yes, but we cannot rely. We cannot say that is validated data. This is valid data or acceptable data. So for generating data, we have to go to the site. For generating data, there are only two things. One is by doing experiment. Second is by recording the observation. By doing experiment means by for physical air, water, soil, noise, you can do some experiments in the laboratory. But for other surveys, for ecology, biodiversity, socio-economic, hydrology, land use, you have to go to the site. You have to observe and record these observations. Right. There's some photograph from the means different activity, from different site visits, from different industry, soil sample collection, and like how we have to collect the soil sample. We have already elaborated in some sessions of soil. And this is the sample of land use mapping. Land use map should be in the 3 level. And every time land use map or study area map will not come in the circle. This can be in this type. This is the linear project of Ganga river from Allahabad to Haldia, West Bengal. So you can see this is some picture taken from our survey. And here you can see the geological map, because for data validation we have to have some data sets. We need to check, we need to go to the site, we need to create the data first. This is picture taken from Assam, Dibrugarh rural area, during surveying of for ecological status of the current scenario in Dibrugarh. This is one river, Subansiri river in Assam. Here the national waterway is passing through, so we have done ESIA. So for quantitative and qualitative, what is that exactly? You can see in case of quantitative and the qualitative, it should be same, and we have to check both. Your data should be checked for both method, quantitative as well as qualitative, and then we have to compare and contrast. After that, only we can make an interpretation from any model. So here you can see the scientific rationale on data collection. First, because real world is there, real world means where we are living, but we have to do some experiment, we have to record the observation for data collection. Then if we agree on the data, then we can go for prediction. If we are predicting something with the reasoning calculation, then we can make some model. And if these model are based on hypothesis, or they are fit with the hypothesis, then we can supply to the world. This is the actual flow diagram of data supplying to the world. So why it is important? Because carrying the baseline study to provide a description of the current scenario, and also we can detect the actual change to the environment after your setting of developmental activity, mining, irrigation, highway, railway, anything, any type of industry, meteorological or pharmaceutical industry. So what type of database is required? Database should be in physical, biological, and social. Well, in case of physical, like air, water, soil, and for ecological, biological is ecological, terrestrial, aquatic, flora and fauna, and socio-economic, population, demographic, and sources of livelihood, etc. So for baseline data, it is already means we will not go into the deep like how we need to generate the data, because it is already covered in some different sessions. So here this is the one flow diagram. Like for physical data, IMD, CPCB, the source. These are secondary source from where we can take data to check the consistency of our data and other third party data. And for water, CGWB, CGWA, CWC, Irrigation Department, CPCB, and for soil, National Bureau of Soil Survey is also there. IARI is also there. Many things are there. And for means ecology, biodiversity, DFO, IFRI, IFSC, but many things are there. So baseline data for existing environmental conditions are very essential for prediction of impact due to any activity, developmental activity. So purpose of the study to provide the information basis for monitoring and also for assessing the activity. It helps to determine the compliances with regulatory requirement and as per the government policy. So baseline data should be collected from the study area, that should be, means as of now it is 10-kilometer radius with respect to your project site. And this environmental monitoring is a systematic measurement of key environmental indicators over the time within a particular geographical area. So the baseline environmental quality should be assessed through field studies in terms of air, noise, soil, biological, socioeconomic, etc. So, for EIA, air, water, soil, noise, vibration, flora, fauna, socioeconomic, geologicals, and some time of spatial ecosystem is required. Hydrological is also required. These are the major activity to be done for EIA, and we have to mention under chapter 3. And for impact assessment, intensity, direction, spatial extent, duration, frequency, reversibility, probability in terms of direct or indirect impact, a short term, long term impact, are adverse or beneficial impact, or cumulative impact due to the developmental activity should be mentioned in EIA chapter 4. So, what everyone wants in AI, first we need to understand the action. One should means I. If we are talking about from idea from the report, one should need to extract. We need to understand the environmental consequences. We need to understand the complete activity or developmental action, project future course of action and determine their consequences. And also we need to clear the report consequences of action only for trade-off. For any, like in case of science, engineering, politics, etc., it should be balanced. So major focus of EIA should be on air, water, soil, noise, etc., biological, socioeconomic, and in case of baseline data collection, primary data and secondary data. Primary data means actual on-field collection, and second data from the reliable sources, which is already collected by someone else. So here you can see valued environmental component, physical, biological, and social. Some challenges in baseline study like compliance with increasingly strict environmental requirement, effective management of cumulative impact of existing or concurrently occurring projects, are also responding to highlighted community like NGO, etc., and climate change adaptation we should mention, and also optimizing project with respect to time, energy, and cost saving. So, what are the solution in this in these challenges? Numerical modeling like habitat modeling, ecological modeling is required. Advanced modeling technology to provide more accurate data, or we need to check calibrated models should be there, calibrated instruments should be there. Multimedia animation of model impact assessment result to enhance the communication and also engage the stakeholder. Integrated modeling approach used to segregate and correctly quantify cumulative climate change impact. These are the basic solution to the challenges in the monitoring, or we can say baseline data collection. Some softwares are there for checking accuracy or flag, like here you can see PCX, what we have, Tantin, Urquent, Quitext, and sometime we can use by me, flag scan, program, Grammarly, authenticate. Many softwares are there. Some free softwares are also there. You can check Qtext, Flagrant Checker, and Plagiarism, Plag Scan, Copy Leaks, Paper Data, Dupli Checker, many softwares. These are the free software. You can search on the Google search engine or Yahoo search engine, immediately will get all the software. So now we'll discuss. We are going to another. We have already discussed about the EI and all these things, but we have to come onto the our focus area, that is validation. So comparative analysis should be done, like correlation, regression, triangulation approach. Sometimes we need to do statistical validation. So how these type of approach we can do by means some type of validation approaches are there. We have to, if outliers are there apart from the expected value range, some data which is not in expected value, then we have to go for repeating survey. Otherwise we can go for using different form of data. We have to check the triangulation method, correlation, cross validation, input output. Bootstrap methods is also there, data set validation is also there. So for data validation, type of data, first is test data. Test data means whatever generated data or sample data. Exactly, test data is the data which is we have recorded, we have generated from the experiment, or we have recorded from the observation, right? And second one is the training data. Training data is the standard data. Standard data means like air quality standards, noise standards, etc. These are the standard data. So observation, the training set from the experience that the model uses to learn are standard with the standard data. Standard data is also known as learned data or training data. And third one, calibration data. Calibration data is for a validation set. So this validation set is to use to tune variable called hyperparameter, which control how to model is learned or how the model to work, right? So in case of input output validation, first model, it can be validated by comparing the results with some simulation or a real case scenario. And as the purpose of simulation, it means 3D, 2D, whatever you can do, is to correctly capture the process data like your equipment, material, etc., for an environmental assessment. Equipment, material output from the simulation model should be compared with the quantity of original survey. The result of simulation model should be considered valid if your simulation item is agreed with the real project. And testing method can be paired sample t-test. I think you aware about your biostat or stats like t-test and nova test. So we need to run t-test or nova test for a normally distributed sample. So we can go for non-normally distributed sample like Wilcoxon sign rank test if non-normally distributed sample. If normally distributed samples there, then we have to run t-test for paired sample exactly. If non-normally distributed sample is there, then we can run Wilcoxon signed rank test. So for simulation model, here you can see we can generate this simulation model for input output by using your Excel sheet. It's so simple. Otherwise, here you can see example of non-paired, normally distributed Wilcoxon signed rank test. So it is already available on any search engine. If you type Wilcoxon signed rank test Excel sheet, you will get this Excel sheet. You have to put your data only, right? For then second method is validation by repeating the survey. If outliers are there, like you are expecting something and the result is very different, then what should we do? We can go for repeating surveys to increase the reliability, to increase the validity. But with regard to interview, respondent may recall previous responses, need to space the survey by long time period, and question of how many repeat survey to ensure adequate reliability and validity. Like significant number is 30, so you have to repeat survey at least 30. Here you can see one example by using this formula. In this moisture content, then coefficient, validity coefficient, and reliability is given here by using this validity coefficient R. Using this formula, this is the statistical index which is used in validity of the interpretations, like how interpretation has been done with the regression and correlation. So these are the correlations, scattered plot. You can make your data in this way, that your interpretation can come from this type of data. So here you can take example of positive correlation and also negative correlation. Positive correlation means meditation increase the level of concentration, and like if you missed your class, so that means grade cannot be better in your class, right? So Here the most important thing in triangulation. Triangulation, as the name suggests, this is the triangle, right? So for the observation, we have to take 3 angles. One, your data set should be generated from the data set, interviews, and sometimes we can take single case. Or we can means to take observation, interviews, observation. Then we can make data sets, and we can reach on the interpretation. So the triangulation is the practice of using multiple source of data, like interview, observation, format filling, etc. So these are multiple approaches to analyze the data to enhance the credibility of a research study or EIA study. It involved employing several evaluators to engage in observation or to engage in analyzing the responses. So there are 4 basic type of triangulation. One is data triangulation, which was identified by Norman Denzin in 1978. Data triangulation is the use of multiple data sources in a single study. Second was for investigator triangulation. Here, the use of multiple investigator or some different researcher to study a particular phenomenon like earthquake. Theory and triangulation. This is for use of multiple perspective to interpret the result of a study like tsunami. And fourth one is methodological triangulation, the use of multiple method to conduct one study. In case of your air sampling or something. Triangulation is an approach to research that use a combination of more than one strategy. When we are using, means we are going for one study, like you are going to develop your ecology biodiversity report, EV report, or biodiversity status of that area. Then what you can do? You can do first primary survey. You can do for secondary. You can collect secondary data, and also you can check with the DFO, checklist with the DFO, district forest officers. So that is triangulation method. So this in this way means you can apply more than one research strategy for single investigation. That is triangulation. And here you can see one example. We need to calculate this unknown distance. So by which direction by which approach we can go to this point, we can take the distance of this, and another point, point number 2, we can go to this point and we can take the distance of this. If we have 2 distances, then we can immediately calculate this unknown distance. So that is one triangulation method. Means by applying for one study, we are applying 2 or more approaches or more techniques. Again, here one same example, alpha beta is we know we are calculating d. So the distance between these 2 points from this point to another this board. So immediately in the same way, here point 1 and 2, here is alpha and beta. So at point A and B, we can go to the measurement of this angle. The same angle is there. Then immediately we can calculate the distance between the distance for D point. Many points are many type of examples are there. You can see this triangulation method means or trapezium method or uni-monotone methods are there. So one can apply many type of, not only 2, you can apply more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here you can see one example. Suppose we have a volume of, we need to means calculate the volume, and here we are applying 2 camera, right? And they each camera has 2D appearance, 2 camera P1 and P2, and this camera has 2D feature map. So 2D feature map, they sign into the volume, sign theta, or simply means they appear on that, and they appear into the volume to fill the corresponding box. Then we can calculate the volume of this box without measuring the dimensions of this box. That is triangulation method. So here you can see, as we already told, four triangulation methods are there, but fifth type is also there, multiple triangulation. First is data triangulation, like in case of time, space, person. Method is design data collection. Investigator triangulation means we are applying more than one investigator for one study. Theory triangulation, and fifth type is multiple, where the combination of two or more triangulation technique in one study we can use, that is multiple triangulation. So this triangulation means we can make personal interviews, questionnaire. We can take example of socioeconomic in EIA report. Then suppose we have filled 100 questionnaire, for 95 focus group we have taken, and 110 personal interviews we have taken. So these are three methods, different methods we have applied for income for household heads. So in that method we can take means we can check that data is correct or not. Also we can go for correlation if we have generated from the different sources. Suppose here we can take data for personal income, average income from personal interview, then from the questionnaire, from the focus group, and then we have to check with the correlation. We have to draw the correlation map. Some methods are there, simulation models are there for input output model, like comparing desired and actual. You can take example of noise. So actual noise is 71.25. Desired was, like, desired is as per the requirement. Your industry requires 70 decibel. So how the difference we can take. So different of different percentage is 5%. In case of desired level was 70 decibel, actual generating data or generating noise is 71.25. By the machinery, which is already mentioned that on operating this machinery, it generates 70 decibel noise. Then there is 5% difference. That means up to 5% is acceptable, because there is no significant difference between the actual and desired noise. But if more than 5%, then that means there is some problem with the data which is listed, or with the machinery. Then you have to check your repair your machinery, or you have to check with the manual, which is already mentioned with the company. Cross validation is also one there, means to demonstrate equivalent performance between two or more methods. It uses a proportion of entire data set when training a model. And when training is done, training means this is not for training actually, so comparing with the training data is standard data, right? Learned data. So that data that has been removed, it can be used to test the performance of that model. Like hold out, one method is hold out method, k fold cross validation, and k subset method. So we need to check, like here one software, R software. This can be done using machine learning software. R software is free software, you can download, you can learn. Number of videos are available on YouTube to how to run R software, so easily one can run this software. So by using holdout method, this is a type of cross validation. It is simplest kind of cross validation, where data set is separated into two set, data 1, data 2, and one data should be known as training data and testing data. Testing data your sample data, training data is the standard data. So function approximator fits a function using training set only, we can say standard set only. So function approximator is used to predict out value for data in the sample or testing. So if error is it makes are accumulated as before to give the mean absolute test set error. That means your that is already which is used to evaluate the model. So error should be there if it is not as per the training data or standard data. So advantage of this method is to take, there is no longer method, or it is very means precise method, simple method, and it is widely used because it evaluation can a high variance. So here you can see a training set means your standard set, a test set means your sample data. So sample data from this inner loop we can create, and goodness of fit of the model by running some type of soft regression correlation or something. So if it is fitting like t-test, ANOVA test, if it fits with the test, your standard data which is already generated by doing some experiment or some relevant standards are available, like in case of air, suppose we are going for air, PM10 standard data is 100 mg per liter per normal meter cube, and your test data is 90. That means if it is less than 90 acceptable limit, so it can be means because there is no more percentage of data. If it is lower than 10 lower than 10 milligram per meter cube, milligram per normal meter cube, then you have to check because this is outlier. Of course it is under permissible limit. 10 milligram is microgram, sorry, microgram is very few. This is this 10 microgram is it can be in the houses, in the room. So how it can come from the ambient air? So you have to check, that is outlier. Second method is hold out method, like we have already hold out means discussed about the hold out, means we have to compare with the data, with the training data as we can say the standard data. And here again like your in case of land use mapping, etc., we can also use this hold out method in case of land side inventory or land use mapping. Second method is k-fold cross validation. K-fold, it is the method where data is divided into subsets, and a holdout method is repeated k times, and each time one of k subset is used as a task set. Task set means sample data, and other k minus 1 means next data. K minus 1 subset are put together to form a training set or standard data. So the average error across all k trial is computed. So what is the advantage, disadvantage? Advantage is it matters less how the data get divided, and it can independently choose how large each test set is and how many trial average over. Disadvantage, the training algorithm has to be rerun from the scratch k times, means if any problem is have happened, then again we have to run from the start. So this is not widely used in EIA report or research. It is rarely used for cross validation. Here you can take example of fold 1 2 3 4 5. We have defined k fold. K fold is 5. So for 5 we have to go for 1 2 3 4, like here 1 2 3 4 and then 5. These are the test data we are comparing with the training data. Training data given in the blue, sorry, green, and testing data, test data is in the brown color. So in this case whatever number you have decided for k number, you have to check with the all those numbers k, and k minus 1 is your uh, training data will be applicable for the training data. So these are regression, correlation, many things are there. Linear regressions you can make as per your requirement, as per your requirement of the thesis or research paper. Sometimes we are using leave one out in case of regression, like function approximator is trained on all the data except for one point, and the prediction should be made from that point only when one point has been left. So the average error is computed and used to evaluate the model. Evaluation given by leave one out cross validation error, that is good. That at the first it seems very expensive to compute, but computing takes no more time than computing the residual error, and it is much better way to evaluate the model. So first how this can be done: shuffle the data set randomly here and there, then split the data set into the groups. K should be defined 5, 10, 15. Whatever significant number you can go for that 30. For each group, take a group as a holdout, and or you can go for the test data, and take remaining groups whatever you are means 5 or 10 30 you have decided. Then only one holdout data should be test data, and other one should be as a training data. Fit a model on training set and evaluate it on the test set. Retain the evaluation score and discard the model. So summary of the skill of the model using the sample model evaluation score. Here we can take example. Leave one out using the correlation coefficient for any type of example like velocity, speed, wind speed, etc. So you can draw inferences on that basis. Like here, you can take example of different type of regression models, linear regression, quartic regression. Randomly choose these examples can be taken up to means 30% to 70%. And this is one is leave one out cross validation, where k we have chosen as a 1. So on the axis, y axis, we can go for k kth record, and temporarily one by one we have to remove whatever is not on the line. Suppose these are the data. You have to make one standard line, that is the training data. Your training data lies on this line. So now we need to remove one by one, which is very correlated, very means closely near to the line, standard line and training data. We have to select when we after leaving all, like here in this 1 2 3 4 5. So we have to remove one by one, and after removing, only one data can be taken. In this case, you can take this, otherwise this, but the distance of this point is very much more than that. So we can take this data, and this is the data which is very closely covering to the standard data or training data. So how accuracy can be done? Now accuracy can be done by here the true negative, false positive, false negatives are there. TP is the true positive, okay, and TN is true negative, and FE is the false positive, right? So ACC is the accuracy. Accuracy can be done by your regression, whatever you have done. So number of true positive plus number of true negative divided by number of true positive, summation of true negative, summation of false positive, summation of false negative. Then the precision is the fraction of sample that were predicted to be wrong that are actually wrong. Precision is calculated by using the formula precision equals true positive divided by true positive plus false positive, right? And recall can be calculated by using the formula true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. That is the fraction of standard data that the system identify. Another method is bootstrap validation. See, all type of validation methods are cannot be used in every research paper or thesis or EI report. You can use 2 or 3, right? So one type of method is also there, bootstrap validation method. It is a resampling technique with a replacement. So this allow to estimate the biasness and the variance. Like we want to compute biasness and variance of sample small data set, like data set is 35217, so mean should be 3.6. So now we can generate the bootstrap. 3 bootstrap are there. First we need to 321 means in the rearranging we can take 73231, mean will be 3.2. If we have means collected again, so we have taken sample of 51137, then means of this value is 3.4. Again we have taken sample 22713, mean is 3. So average of these three, 3.2 plus 3.3 plus 3 plus divided by 3 equal to 3.2. So biasness, how we can calculate biasness will be 3.6 minus 3.2. So this will come whatever it is. It can be, if it is in negative value like 3.2, because your value has average estimation is 3.2, and actual value of one sample is 3.6. So 3.2 minus 3.6 equal to minus 0.4, sorry. So in case of resampling, there is means process this downward bias in the mean, so we would include this point minus 0.4, and this 0.4 is means in case of 0.4 is bias data actually, but variance is 0.04. Then this is acceptable. That means this having less variance in the data set. So less variance can be also calculated by using all means this formula, all 3.2, 3.4, 3 divided by 6, so it can be in this, and then we have to go for biasness percentage. These are the sample set, this is the example, original data set is this, then we have to resample 1 to 3, and we can take average of this, then we can compare with the for the variance percentage, that is bootstrap distribution. Here again one example of class A, class B, training data and test data. Test data is your sample data, training data is the standard data. This is an example of fold out and k-fold cross validation. So the same way, and third one is the bootstrap resampling. Bootstrap means we are going to resample the test. And another method is split sample. This can be made by splitting sample into the analysis and control. Then we have to compare the changes, like splitting the study into two variable. One is a cultivated or uncultivated, right? So this past moment into two time groups for analysis and control. Randomly, population of analysis can be like COVID-19 population, in the control in the infection, means no COVID and with COVID. So we can check this data can be divided with the available data into the training and test data. Select the architecture and training parameters. Train the model using training set. Evaluate the model using validation set. Repeat these two, step number 2 through four using different architecture or training parameter. Select the best model. Train it using data from the training and validation set. Training data means standard data. We have to make a standard data. Access this final model using the test data, and and then we can make observations, or we can say interpretation. These techniques are used to validate either qualitative, either quantitative. In situ measurement and participant non-participant observation help to identify changes brought about the project implementation. Also help to decipher over and under reporting from the interviews, questionnaires, focus groups, need-based assessment, and also sample data from on-site observation can be useful for validation purposes. Sometimes we can go for error estimation, like root mean square error, mean square percentage error, root mean square percentage error, mean absolute error, mean percentage error, mean square error. So some secondary data sources are there. We have already means sent this. So for this separate presentation there, how we can take primary data or secondary data sources. So it can be. So here you can see this is here the second data source we you can see here. For metallurgy, IMD is there. For ambient air, CPCB, SPCB, MFD, WHO noise level, CPCB, SPCB is there. Groundwater surface, CGWA, sub-CGWA, SGWB, NWDA, CWC, CPCB, WHA, NHPCB. Waste for terrain, EIC, NRSA, SAC, state remote sensing center is there. For waste, CPCB manuals are there. For chemical properties, MSDS is there. Many things. Socioeconomic is census data, WHO is data, topographic sheet is there. For ecology biodiversity, BSI, ZSI, Invest Center, IPNI, IEAPT, UK, IIRS, Dehradun, Salim Ali Institute of Ethnology and Natural History, Coimbatore. Many things, many area means agencies are there. For wildlife, list of avifauna, list of medicinal plant, coastal and marine diversity, wetland diversity, agricultural information, endemic and rare endangered species, heritage, inland biodiversity, etc. So one can check the data of any industry, the site condition on Google Earth Pro software. Also, this is free software. You can go to the new site, and also we can check some data from the topo sheet after preparing the study area map. This is the topo sheet. So in this topo sheet, the data like for the water body, for the human settlement, for the road, everything it is already given, which is in infrastructure. For data of hydrological monitoring, hydrological study, CGW is the agency where data is also available. Here you can see water quality parameters like in case PSDO, these all parameters are required: iron, sulfate, carbonate, chloride, fluoride, magnesium, sodium, ammonia, BOD, COD, fecal coliform, heavy metal, pesticide, etc. are required. And this can be means ionic balance can be checked online also. Otherwise, you can do by the ionic balance Excel sheet. By a manually method, you can utilize this formula: summation of all the cations equals should be anions, right? And some chemical characterization of TDS, like some relations are there: COD should be equal to BOD plus TOC plus oxidizable or inorganic. So this can be also utilized one formula for validation check. And data validation is absolute checking if data is within the detection limit of a particular method, checking if the data is within the expected range of a particular parameter, checking if there is too many significant digits reported, checking if data are physically or scientifically possible. These are known as general checks. Also checking correlation of parameter like BOD COD relation, TCFC relation, etc. Checking the correlation between electric conductivity in TDS, checking cation anion balance. Total coliform must be greater than fecal coliform. Total iron must be greater than dissolved iron. Total phosphorus must be greater than dissolved orthophosphorus. And total iron must be means of course it is greater than iron, which does dissolve iron. There are some general checks: total solid COD should be greater than BOD, total coliform, phosphate, EC should be greater than TDS, hardness should be equals to Ca and Mg hardness. Sometimes we can go for conditional check like TDS with the specific conductance, pH and carbonate species. So this type of correlation we have to check: dissolved oxygen and nitrate, because nitrate, nitrite, and ammonium nitrogen is for fish toxicity. And then interpretation of data. First, ionic balance correlation of parameter on the basis of regression also and the outliers. Then we can make interpretation like central tendency of data using arithmetic mean, geometric mean, median, dispersion of data, range, standard deviation, variance, etc. Percentile value of 20, 50 at 7500. Accidents factor in percentage for air. Then we can go for trend values, variance value. Also we can calculate the stress of surface water, like stress of surface water due to the industry equals water consumption by the industry divided by average flow during lean period. Higher the ratio, higher will be the impact on the surface water source. Cumulative water surface water stress on the river, water consumption by the industry plus water consumption by the other user divided by average flow during lean period. Higher the ratio, higher the impact. And emission inventory we have already discussed in the some previous sessions, so we'll not go into deep, but we have to take secondary data first for primary survey. Then we have to make sampling design network. On that basis we have to collect the data, and data can be selected means collected from the source of pollution, transport and receptors. And these are the type of non-vehicular point and non-point source. Criteria for air sampling: we have to check predominant wind direction, we have to check the terrain of the study area, regional synaptic scale of climatological norms, densely populated area within the region, location of surrounding industry, representation of regional background, and facility for ambient air monitoring, representation of valid cross-sectional distribution in downwind direction, avoidance of proximity of road, construction activity, or any other activity which may be temporary in nature, which may lead to some errors. And availability of manpower, electricity, approach road, study structure and protection of your samplers. So on the basis of wind rules, we can define the predominant wind direction. Mounting protocol we can use as per IS standards. Here the air pollutant like SPM, SOx, NOx, CO, SC, PV, ozone, SCO, and some micrometeorological condition like wind speed, wind direction, temperature, humidity, rainfall, cloud cover. And accidents factor can be calculated by using this formula: observed average. Sorry, not if you are going for annual value, then you have to calculate annual value. If you are not, you are having only 3-month value, that is observed mean concentration of value of pollutant divided by standard for the respective pollutant of 24 hour. So in case of 24 hour, you can use 24 hour. In case of annual value, then you can use annual value. Okay, and after extents factor, you can see what interpretation will come. If your extents factor is more than 1.5, then critical pollution is there. If it is coming under 1.5 to 1.1 only, so high pollution is there. It ranges from 0.5 to 1 moderate pollution, less than 0.5 low pollution. This is the picture from for GLC, data collection for ecology biodiversity. In that way, we have taken some other sessions for ecology biodiversity in detail, and how type of data we have to collect for ecological survey, ecological sensitivity, how we have to do MIA, marine impact assessment, and surveys for ecological studies, etc. So these are some pictures. These are the sample. Interpretation can be written in this way. You should not copy and paste from, but you can write in this way that what type of study area, what type of the trees are there, how many species are there, schedule one species is there or not, and in national park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve, tiger reserve, etc. is there, and a schedule one species is there. If is there, then conservation plan should be there. For social impact, or we can say social environment, we have to provide education, medical primary health care facility, drinking water facility, drainage sanitation facility, communication facility, transportation facility, roads available, bank facility, power supply, etc. in this format. And then we have to go for focus groups, need-based assessment. And after generating the data, we can make interpretation. And now you can see here how the EIA can be checked, or your manuscript can be checked for plagiarism. Plagiarism, for here we are giving example of PCX. So by PCX, after running, you can open this PCX if you have. So for here you can see three things are there: large content, paragraph, and blog, or web URL. If you are going to check the blog content, then you have to check here. Many people are putting the blogs over the websites, so you can also check the flag if it is not copied from anywhere. If your AI report or manuscript is there, which is not available online, then you have to check large content. If you are having a small manuscript of one paragraph to two paragraph, then you can check on the paragraph. After putting this, you can just load your content. After loading, it will take some time. And for paragraph here, you can just copy and paste. And for blog, again, you can put the URL only. And after loading, you can click on analyze it. After analyzing, you can see this type of result will be there, like online plagiarism. Here it is showing 14%, and how many scanned words are 4867. This will show, and report you can generate from, like, you can save your report here. You can save by using open, then here the content, this is the air environment, water environment, etc. So you can fix. Detector results are there in this form, like this type of this will show. And here the plagiarism is 10%. This was checked on this date. And also detailed report can be taken from this software. And here is the total report where you have copied something, so it will be highlighted by the software only. And you can save your this report in MS Word, Excel, PDF, HTML. Like here you can see similarity found 10%. It was checked on October 29, 2020. So these are highlighted area where you have found, and what the similarity is there, it has already shown. One to many, you can also check for comparison method, one to many to many, or cross comparison for data validation. So this is the cross comparison, right? And here you can see some other options are also there for URL, for like you, if you are going to make your website. So how you can check here, you can immediately check that if it is available with a similar one, or some other sources are there. So any type of file can be checked for plagiarism after loading. And how much, here you can see 100% duplicate, because chapter 12 we have compared with some one report. So they have pasted this report only. So this is the 100, means 100% copy has been done in the report. So here you can see this is duplicate found. And sometime your words are utilized, then you can find this type of. So validation of data in EIA research is objectively done using some approaches to compare the observed value and modeled value. So data validation is necessary to carry out after completion of your research or after completion of your report. And also it is mandatory to check the flag and self-certification of data validation by AI consultant as per Annex 7 of NABT. So this is also necessary. Apart from the training, we are into the publication of books, monographs. You can see number of books, more than 50 books. We have a third. Also, we are taking different type of training sessions, and here you can see some online learning portals free of cost for if you have interest for learning something, some skills to be like Alison is there, skill build is there. We are also offering book publication, review publication, research publication, internship for the students, assistance in dissertation or thesis preparation. We are running an NGO, Scientific Planet Society. We are running a magazine, Scientific India, two journals, after Journal of Environmental Research, after Journal of Bioscience. This is our society, Scientific Planet Society, journals, after Journal of Environmental Research, Bioscience, Scientific India. We have recently published Handbook of Research in Waste Diversion and Minimization Technology for Industry Sector. It is available online on Google. These are some books, and these are pictures from our survey. This is virtual internship, 3 days, 2 days, 1 month, 3 month, even 3 month certification courses on EIA, water network design, sampling, etc. So these activities we are doing, and now we'll show some case studies as we have already discussed. So for in EIA, you can see how interpretation has been should be put. This is EIA of one of EIA chapter 3 for baseline data, and here you can see for every attribute, like this is air. So air quality in the study area, minimum, maximum. Then this summary of the report has been also prepared. Then interpretation of ambient air quality. This is not for only one. Interpretation should come for every data. Like here, the noise environment. So for noise environment, again the observation, then interpretation of noise data. Then again you can see water environment. So for water again, the interpretation, observation, summary should be there. Summary is there. Then interpretation of the groundwater. So in this way, for every attribute, we have to put the interpretation for after data, after observation, for this in the EI report, right? Now we'll show you one here. This is the one data sheet of primary survey. This is the we can say when we are going to the site to generate the data, recording the observation. These are the records. This is this type of logbook. We have to generate this type of data, and then after this generation of data, we have to prepare one report. Like here you can see ecological environment. Here methodology, filled in data sheet, cover page of EB means we have to prepare EB report, second data, and laboratory testing for aquatic sample. So here you can see methodology for EB. Okay, and after the methodology, this is fill in data means primary data survey, primary data collection. Then on the basis of primary data, we have to prepare one ecology biodiversity report. Okay, and these are the secondary data where we have taken the some sources for data validation, like techniques or flora of West Bengal. This project was belongs to West Bengal only. So the fauna of West Bengal, part 2, part 1. Okay, some wildlife status of that area from the DFO. Some methods we have applied for examination of water and wastewater, for plankton and periphyton. So whatever it means, freshwater biology, fishes, benthic studies, etc. So this type of data we have to procure. And for socioeconomic, here you can see the socioeconomic primary data collection from need base, either from the person, focus group, or society. Okay, so this type of data we have to generate for the first, and then we have to prepare one report, like it has been already seen, right? And here you can see another example from another project, Vedanta Cool Wassery, for ecology biodiversity. And this is for Birla okay, socioeconomic. So here you can see socioeconomic data. It was written means secondary data is there. This is the socioeconomic environment, this is the methodology. Then they have generated the data, primary data survey, and this is the logbook. Then this is the sample collection of secondary data, like Chindwara. This is a project from MP. So handbook, census book, etc. they have referred. And another one is, suppose we are going to take one another example, laboratory. For laboratory, for data validation of physical environment. So how physical environment can be means data should be validated. These are the actual means case studies, right? So here you can see first intimation to the laboratory, then requisition for baseline data, then study area map to be provided with the sampling location to the laboratory. Then a laboratory has to go to this collecting the sample. So we have to check how they have collected the sample, on which date they have collected the sample, what type of conditions are there at the site. So it should be checked with the format, as we have shown in the slide that the format need to check. It has been generated by the laboratory, but as an expert, as an EIA expert, we have to check like how they are. So here you can see we have checked this type of data that they have collected or not, and what type of conditions are there. So everything we have to check. So you can check here, you can see this checks are there, some checks are there. So that means this data has been validated by using some software, by using some by reviewing, because reviewing is one method also for cross checking. And here sample collection, preservation, transportation, like how they are collecting the sample, how making doing preservation, how doing transportation. So we have to cross verify that methodology is correct or not. So everything we have to check. Then you can see quality assurance, like how much time period they are going for refrigerate, or for acidity, minimum sample is required, ml how much sample they have taken. Suppose for alkalinity is 200 liter 200 ml, for BOD is 1000 ml. So that means in case you can see the one sample is required at least 5 liter. So can they have collected 5 liter from one sample? If they have collected 5 liter from one sample, so how they have transported? So everything you have to check. If it has been done in the same way whatever is required, that means it is correctly done, otherwise it is not. Suppose you are collecting 1 liter sample, then how you can do all these parameters? Like here you can see 100 ml for acidity, 100 ml, 200 for alkalinity, 1000 means 1 liter for BOD, boron for 100, other carbon, total carbon 100 ml, chlorine 500 ml, chloride, dioxide 500, chlorophyll 500, color for 500, conductivity 500, cyanide 500, cyanide amine 500, fluorides for 300, hardness for 100 ml, iodine for 500 ml, general checks for 500 ml. So these like up to 5 to 10 liter water sample is required if you are going to check these number of parameters. And as limit your parameter, the water quantity will be lesser, but number of parameters is increased, like 43 20 30 samples, some parameters are there. That means you need to collect the sample in their quantity. So we need to check, and what type of methodology they have followed, what type of standard they are following, what type of what we can say equipment they are taking with them for collection of samples, and what type of means calibration of those equipment are done or not with a photograph or something. So these type of general checks are there. So you can see 98 pages are there. We have to check the flow diagram of sample receipt method is there, what type of methodology is there. So what a grab sample means, what type of methods they are applying, how they are making calculation, etc. So everything we have to mention. Then we are going for means preparing the baseline data. So these type of test reports, how they are presenting, this is the raw data. After raw data calculation, they are going to prepare the final report in this type of form. So these things we need to check. Another, we are taking one example of ecology biodiversity report for one coal, underground coal mining. So you can see here. So this is one EB report which we have prepared. And for second data we have taken, because we are using triangulation method, right? So we have taken one work plan of Paschim Chindwara Van Mandal Karya Yojana, right? Here the what we can say, the wildlife, it is already there. You can see Bagh, Tendua, Bhalu, Lakad Baggal, Lumbi, Siar, Son Kuta, Bhediya, Nilgai, Sambar, Cheetal, so Singa, Chinkara, Jangli Swar, Bandal, Langur, Khargosh, Moor, Mrag, Paltu, Pasu. So these are the animal. This is the list, authenticated list, and how many numbers are there in the different cities, different type of villages. It is already there. So everything it is there, and now we cannot mention everything. As per my study, we have to prepare. So how we have prepared, you can see these some, like yeah, here you can see this is the list which we have encountered. This is for quantitative study also. Here you can see tectona, means this is TBA, density per hectare, RDRF, dominance, IVI. We have calculated IVI for also, because this area is 360 hectare area for underground mining, and there is some tree cut felling is there also. So IVI is important for this project, right? IVI is not important for every type of industrial project or source project. So here you can see this is the scenario, current scenario of that project. So this is cross validation of data and cross verifying with the primary truthing, ground truthing, right? And for this wildlife, here you can see the wildlife data, reptiles, amphibian, mammals. So these are the mammals. Here you can see 14 species are there. So we have mentioned under schedule 1, 2, 3. Schedule 1 is leopard. Here it is leopard, Panthera pardus. Then how interpretation, anticipation, anticipated impact on wildlife we have to prepare. So in this case, we have already provided mitigation measures, ecological impact assessment, and then we have prepared the green belt development plan. Then it is the summary. So in this way, we have to prepare. And another one you can see, this is another report, ecology report for from Haryana. This is for distillery, right? First we need to understand what is the project, right? Then methodology, then we have to go to the site, we have to prepare the report as per the format provided. So here you can see mammals are in the study area, animals, domestic animals, fisheries, rare red species. So schedule 1 is pow, other ones common mongoose monkey, etc. Schedule 2. So conservation is required. So conservation ecological impact assessment has been done. Then green belt development has been prepared. Then summary and conclusion and interpretation of ecology biodiversity study. And here budgetary provision for conservation of biodiversity has been prepared. Then conservation species wise conservation plan should be prepared. So conservation plan, it is like here you can see this is the total complete ecology biodiversity report with the references whatever we have referred, or we can say the secondary data sources, right? So in this way we can have the data, and we can check, we can make interpretations. If you have any question, there are three options. You can go, you can call us on the number provided, you can email us the email provided, you can also go to the web mail account services website. So on from that also you can call us, you can means you can send me email, otherwise you can type your question on WhatsApp. So thank you very much for today for data validation. If you have any query, any type of other training session you are interested, then you can email us, you can WhatsApp us. We'll entertain your query, questions, etc. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.